Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Making the Most of My Garden. Just to recap, this is the third in a series of campaign webinars that we've had. Most of you have been on at least one or more of those already. Please know that we have recorded those webinars and they are available in our library and media center and on our YouTube channel. That is the link here. And you can go on our website and look under our programs tab for National Public Gardens Week and find those webinars for references. There's a lot of great content on leading up to it. So if you've missed something and you had some questions, a lot of it was answered earlier. Today we have on the phone me, Joan Thomas, and my colleague Richard Duran, Marketing and Communications Manager. Richard?
Hello.
He and I are teaming up on the National Public Gardens Week and the rollout of that, so he'll be talking more about what that means from a broader context and the registration and all of those goodies. And also on the phone with us today is Corey Blake from Mobile Cause, who is my partner in the tech setup for this campaign. Say hi, Corey.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Corey can also and has helped a little bit on some of the page functionality and answering some of the more technical questions that you've all had. So thanks for challenging us as we had put this campaign together throughout the year. Today, the webinar topic, so we're going to have three parts. One is just a team page tune-up. All of you who have pages already have heard from me. I have taken a look at your team page, given you personal feedback, and this is just a recap. As you continue to build out your pages. For the tips and tricks, we won't belabor that. A lot of it was in webinar 2. So this is just how can you maximize your team page for ultimate success. Part 2 is getting ready to launch, and that includes National Public Gardens Week and also your campaign. And part 3 is the checklist and timeline as we kind of count down to the days leading up to National Public Gardens Week, and also what you can expect from that. So the first thing is, if you haven't already done this, or you're still gathering information and you're wondering what is the next step, really the next step is that someone at your garden designates themselves as a team captain and signs themselves up. You're creating not only a personal fundraising page, but you're also going to be the team captain for your team page for your garden. And so really just take the first steps, log yourself in. You get an email confirmation from Mobile Cause with the links. You connect yourself with the garden, create your team, and build from that. But this is a really important thing. It's going to be an important link too. If you are further along and you're deciding you want other people in your community to help you raise money for that 1-week campaign, then you can set that up and drive people here and take them through the same steps that you go through. We'll talk about that in a minute, about the peer-to-peer part. When you first get to your team page, you're going to see a lot of boilerplate. And this is just things that I have populated. They are arbitrary, and they should be customized to fit your goal and your message and your images. So here's an example, and we are going to cut away periodically to show you some live pages in progress that I have taken a look at and gotten permission to show for all of you. Are you using your images to the best advantage? A lot of you are doing really great work on uploading your images, and they're gorgeous. In webinar 2, I took a little time to inspire you to really enforce to anyone you're sending to your team page, reinforce the fact this is your garden with your message. And one of the most immediate image impressions you want to make is that this is your garden. And sometimes pictures aren't linking them immediately unless you have a very iconic photo that you're leading off with. So I've encouraged people in webinar 2 to try to incorporate your logo and superimpose it on the image and make that the first image in your media carousel. And or lead off in your Our Story section with the name of your garden. Because the first few seconds are critical, and you do want to try to make as good a first impression as possible. The second thing you might want to do with your images is tell a story. And this really relates to those of you who want to take that 1 week flash campaign and make it a very specific message of support. Can you use your images to tell that story? You all have a great uh, repository of photos for your garden, but can you take them on a journey with the images and make the very impactful visual way of telling, weaving that tale that you can, that words alone may not capture people's attention in the same way. Also, how many and how few images? And I don't know if there's a magic secret sauce for that, but I will say that if you mesmerize people with too many images, you're not inspiring them to move on and to hit that donation button. So as much as you want, you can throw as many photos, to a capacity point, but think about that sweet spot that should be right for you before you want people to just move on and take the next step. And the Our Story area is really great for including personal messages, photos, videos. You've got a lot of editing tools in that Our Story section, so I would explore that. People have used color, they've used images, and we'll show you a couple of examples of how to do that. You can see here at the Arboretum, they have used the link, they can embed links, they've used color, and you'll see some other examples later on in this presentation. Some of you have contacted me because your logos are horizontal oriented and they did not flow well into the image, the team image site. This is because we just need to square them up for the most part, and so that's a really easy fix by expanding the canvas and just making the pixel by pixel an even number, the same amount. I've done this with the gardens at Heather Farm, and after we saved it as a new JPEG and uploaded it, there was no problem. So think about that. If you are having any issue with your team image not loading correctly and you want us to help, just send me an email. I've done that a few times this week, so I'm perfectly fine with that. When you are the team captain and you sign up your garden, in fact, any of your staff that do this, it creates your own personal fundraising page. Now, you may choose, in some cases, this could be superfluous in that you just basically want people to go to the main team page, make the gift. As a team captain, your MYGARDEN number is the same as the team garden my number. So it's true, either way is going to get you to the donation for your garden. But I would just caution that you go back to your team, your personal page, and take out the boilerplate and do something with that rather than keep it like this, which is at this point in the development. I'm not saying Jacqueline would just leave it like that, but this is where it is right now. And you do want to just, for housekeeping purposes, clean it up and do something with that space. Another thing we talked about a little on webinar 2 is that in all of the options you have available, for those of you who have used other crowdfunding sites, you are familiar with the idea of clicking on various levels and tying premiums to that. We have that opportunity through Corey to take that kind of treatment in the Our Story area and inspire people to drive them to particular gift levels. What Corey will do on the back end is just activate those as buttons that link to the donation page that will pre-populate. Corey, did you want to speak more about that?
Yeah, I saw one. One was looking at doing this, which is really exciting. So yeah, it's basically just if you want to just write the text that you want, the copy. If you look at this slide here, seedling level $25. Choose this level and get a sincere thank you, or whatever you want it to say, and just write it as a list on your page. And then if you want to reach out to us, then I can go in there and convert those into these buttons. And it's a cool effect. And there's also a nice little rollover, as you'll see, basically as you kind of roll the mouse over, it'll light up. So it's a nice kind of engaging thing that you can do. So yeah, I'm happy to turn those on if we know about them.
Great. And the good news is that we're not going to have undue amounts of time for you to then circle back with these donors who are taking you up on these premium promotions, for you to be able to fulfill that. They may not get an immediate customized email that confirms all of this just because of the way the architecture of this campaign site is. But you have the ability, because you see gifts in live time, to be able to respond to them and steward and fulfill anything that you say that you are going to do. You can wait until the very end, or you can take action sooner. It's really up to you. And we'll talk about what happens during that week type of activity. So we talked a little bit at the last webinar about using the peer-to-peer fundraising and inviting other people from the community to help raise funds with you as part of this crowdfunding platform that we're offering. So what I wanted to do is to take a minute and launch a poll and ask you if we have a poll in progress right now. And the question is, do you plan on to recruit additional fundraisers? I'm really curious with the group as to your interest level in taking a step and promoting an opportunity to amplify the number of touch points that you can generate in the community to drive people to the donation portal using their social networks. So I see that about 2/3 of you aren't sure yet, and an equal amount are yes and no. So I would recommend that you take a little bit of time and look at one of the handouts that we have in the control panel that you can download and use. Corey has prepared this for us and for you specifically, and he's customized a lot of this copy to be helpful in crafting how you would go about managing that part of your team pages and your campaign. Corey, did you want to say any more about that?
Yeah, this is a resource that I definitely recommend you downloading. Yeah, as Joan said, it's in that little handouts little section there on the GoToWebinar panel there, and it has copy, language that you can use for recruiting fundraisers and keeping them engaged throughout the life of the campaign. That can be sent by email, across social media, text. And there's a few ideas there too, as for how to keep them engaged. There's all sorts of different ways you can do that with incentives and contests and just challenging them and things like that. So obviously you don't have to use all of it. You probably wouldn't want to, but there's a lot of good resources in there. Definitely recommend checking that out.
Great. And as we mentioned in webinar 2, there's a lot of creative ways to use it. And this is just the recap slide. As to how to use it. One, you can actually use that true peer-to-peer. You can use one fundraiser with one special message, and this is Joan at Gardens at Heather Farm, who is the team captain as well as the executive director, and she puts a personal message as part of her personal team page. She can also do it on the Our Story page, but she also has set a personal goal for her, and this is one way of doing it. It's probably the simplest way of doing it if you do nothing else to make sure you use that slot. The other one is traditional peer-to-peer, which again, that is an open call for whomever you want to target to help you in that effort. You can use those slots if you're doing a special cause and you want celebrities to be those faces with different appeals, and people can drive based on their favorite person or slot or whatever. Same thing if you have a program element that you're trying to raise money for. If the people are selecting a certain aspect of that, the support for a particular program, and they're voting in a way, that's another way of looking at these slots as ways of voting for their support or indicating, and this can be valuable for you if you were curious as the public as to what people really gravitated towards within a program. They're voting with their passion. So this could be interesting data for you to capture. And again, we capture all of that, and we try to give that back to you so that these are your donors and these are your gifts to steward, and these people to cultivate. And again, one of the cleanup is if you have extra fundraisers, like you have 2 or 3 staff members with you who are working and work exploring various parts of the team page as you build it. Anything you're not using, contact me and I'll remove them because everything up there is live during the campaign. So we just streamline it and keep it clean. There were a couple gardens who I thought were doing really cool things, and I wanted to give you a moment to explore that, because one thing is you set up your team page is that you don't necessarily get to see what other people are doing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a dry run here. Here's West Virginia, and they did the montage with their carousel as well, and you can see that they have multiple photos going on. They also have they've embedded a photo, a very personal message from the Our Story, their executive director. And they're using color, which is great. And they're leading off with the name of their garden. So I thought those were a lot of great elements together. If you go to their fundraisers, Megan is actually their team captain, so she's building this page. And she just made sure she had a face and a name going together. So that is what's going on in West Virginia. And over in Daniel Stowe in North Carolina, again, they used their logo on their first carousel slide. And they have, again, they use color, make sure they're popping the keyword, and using, again, these media carousel photos, just to recap, they're going to be the same on no matter what fundraiser page there are. They're universal to your team. Now they have set an interesting goal of $1,680 if you haven't noticed that. But then they tie it to a very, very specific case. Again, I always think it's really, for a flash campaign for a specific amount of money with a specific impact statement. I think all of those are just good elements that work well together for a campaign like this. Over at Southern Highlands, we have, again, the same usage of the overlay of the logo. They've set a $10,000 goal. And thank you. You may have noticed if you went to earlier webinars, I've changed the language here. This is more of a forward-facing. This is where people join up a team. So I think it was called Join a Team in early stages, and this was because we were working with gardens and team captains to use language that was very specific for the internal group to use the sign-up form. I've changed this language to now look at outward-facing ability for people choosing to use the peer-to-peer to get people to click on that and that will take you, by the way, to a sign-up form. So that's essentially what that link is. So, and then Rail Yard Park Conservancy, which is another garden doing great things, and they have used their Our Story in a little bit of a longer way to describe some of the programs that they have. And then they're in the midst of setting up premium buttons. So they are going to work with Corey, and Corey's going to turn those into buttons. And there's Rebecca, who is setting up the page for Rail Yard. So all of these people have been very forthcoming and asking me questions, and that's great because that's what we want. We want to help you, and we want you to put your best foot forward. So that is kind of a team page recap on the things you can do and how to really think about using your page to the best, to make the strongest possible case for people to support. I will pause here and ask if anyone has any questions. I do not see any in the questions tab. So we can move forward with part 2. If I do capture a question in the questions section, we can make sure that we address that at any given point during this webinar. So now I'm going to turn it over to Richard Duran, who's going to talk a little bit more about National Public Gardens Week and the launching of our site. So take it away.
Thank you, Joan. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Duran, and I am the Marketing and Communications Manager here at the association. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the resources we have for your marketing team, and we'll take a look at the National Public Gardens Week website. Throughout the week, we are emphasizing the importance and impact of public gardens as community resources and catalysts for change in their community. We would also like to emphasize the ways that public gardens grow resilience in the individual, the community, and the planet by encouraging the general public to visit, value, and volunteer at their local public gardens. See if I can get this to get. Our goal is participation. We like to say there is no wrong way to participate except to not participate, and we try to make participation pretty simple. When the website is launched next Monday, the marketing contact at your garden will receive the event entry form link in an e-blast. It will also be posted to the Marketing and Communications Community Forum, and we'll get to the form in just a second. Users will go to nationalpublicgardensweek.org. That's our goal, and that's the URL that we have. Let's see if we can bring that up. There we go. This is the general garden map that we have on our website at all times. For National Public Gardens Week, we do brand it with a banner at the top. And when that launches, we're expecting in mid-April, you'll also be able to go here to submit your offer. This right now is on our test site, so there are just a couple of things that aren't going to necessarily work entirely as we had anticipated. But what we're hoping is that we'll get some people to input some events so that when we are starting to drive the public to the website, that there will be something for them to find there. So let's take a look at the entry form. If I can get back to don't seem to be able to get back. There we are. New. This is actually the form that is live on the website right now. You can find it in the Programs tab here on the National Public Gardens Week. And we do have a couple of events that have been submitted so far. We'd like to see obviously some more before we get it to the general public. Scrolling down, it's really fairly simple and intuitive to do this. You put it, your marketing people will put in their name and contact information. And what we do require that gardens are members of the association. So when you are putting in your garden, it will start populating, such as American Public Gardens Association. We are asking if you can share your information with us. We'd like to hear stories and share photos and videos and everything from National Public Gardens Week. Obviously, we'll do a lot of that on social media, but we'd also like to be able to contact you afterwards and make sure that we can get everything that we can from it. This is the general information that will appear on your garden banner, which we will show you in just a second. It's just essentially saying, this is National Public Gardens Week, and we're really excited about it, and these are some of the events that we'll be having. It's a little more expanded than it has been in the past because we are doing the whole week right now, and people will be able to put in multiple events on days and participate on multiple days as well. This is where you'll be able to say you are participating in the My Garden campaign. You will want to make sure that your marketing staff is aware of that and also has the links that they can put in here. In the event that you are using your own fundraising functionality, you can use that as well. You're just going to put in whatever campaign URL, whether it's the My Garden or your own gardens, and move on from there. Adding events is fairly simple as well. Again, the garden name, event title, event offer, the days of the week, when it's happening, and also what kind of event it is. We're going to be adding a few more options to this. What this will allow is for the user to be able to change things once they're on the events page, which we will, as I said, take a look at shortly. So if we can go back now. The kind of events are really up to the garden. We, again, can post as many events as you'd like. What we have here is just an example that the folks at Sherman Library and Gardens out in California kindly sent us for their plans for the week. They created themed days, volunteer day, sustainable gardening, culinary gardening, arts, collections. You can see them there. Their form is available there on the schedule of events if you click on that, and also that is also on the National Public Gardens page on our website. This is just sort of a sample of theirs, which is talking about their volunteer day. They're bringing in volunteers and docents for a meet and greet and to learn more about being a volunteer or docent, and also offering free tours of the gardens during the day. We mentioned earlier that you can find a lot of this stuff right now on the website under programs. It'll say National Public Gardens Week. There's some information on the My Garden campaign you're probably familiar with. We're also, excitingly, we're going to be having landmarks across the country turning themselves green for the launch of the day, or launch of the week on May 13th. And if you click on that, you can see the list that's growing every day as we get more confirmations from landmarks across the country. Also, if your garden can turn green, whether it's through LEDs or some other method, we are encouraging you to do that. We have several gardens that have already told us that they will be doing that for the week. And then, of course, there's the National Public Gardens Week Toolbox. It's a really interesting list of stuff that has been put together over the past 10 years of National Public Gardens Day, the ways various gardens have participated in that, and gives some ideas to the marketing staff about things that other gardens have done across the country and just ways to participate. There is no real requirement that you do something themed. The themes that we showed you from Sherman, they're things they created. If you would like to follow those, feel free. But really what we'd like to do is give an opportunity for you to post any events that are going on at your garden that week, anything that you've done specifically for National Public Gardens Day, but also things that are just going on at your garden so that we can encourage people to visit and find out more about your public garden. When we do launch next week, we will have, well, logos are available in the toolbox right now. We're also going to have templates of some signage and a media kit. One of the things we're hoping to do is to use the landmarks in your area to match up with other ones across the country. We have confirmed that the LAX pylons, for example, and Niagara Falls will be going green on May 13th. Just some interesting visuals that might be good for your local media to be able to take advantage of and pair up with some of the things that are going on in your area. Oops. We will take a quick look here at the National Public Gardens Week map. And just, again, this is on our test site, but it'll show you some of the functionality that we do have. The map automatically geolocates to your location. We are in East Marlborough Township, Pennsylvania. I'm going to use Van Vleck Garden up in, well, that's Four Freedoms, but hold on. We can zoom in. When your garden has events going on, it will turn orange and be a little flower as opposed to the normal association branded pegs that are there. And you can click on your garden's name, and that takes you to the garden page. Again, this is the test site. The garden logo would appear where the association rosette is there. This is the general page that's always existing on our site for our members and has information about the gardens that has been submitted by the gardens themselves. This is the National Public Gardens Week banner at the top. All of them will say celebrate National Public Gardens Week with us, and then there's the space for that spot on the event form that I showed you where you can have whatever your messaging would be for the week. And in the event that you do have a fundraising aspect part of it, it will appear here as well. Then we can see events. And the events page works very much like the garden map itself. You can search by garden name, you can enter a location, which would include your local location, any zip code, city, state, and it'll show gardens within 150 miles of the location. If you're coming here from an actual garden like we just did, you will only see the events for that garden. That allows you to just drive some traffic to your own garden, and then the users can take it wherever they want, really. As you can see, we have the opportunity to search, this is what days of the week are going on, and the activity tags that we talked about will also be there. There's only 2 right there, but again, this is the test site. If you wanted to, users can also click view all events, and that'll show them all of them across the country. Again, these are just for examples only, lots of fun events, title of second fun event, etc. And if you wanted to, you could just see what's going on in your own area. So these are the things that are happening are within 150 miles of where I am right now. If there is a special offer that's involved, you'll have the opportunity to have your users claim it, and they can print out a coupon if you would like to use those. This also gives you an opportunity to collect their email and post codes so that you know where those people are coming from and what it is they're doing, or where they're coming from, and how you can contact them going forward. And that's pretty much what we have. When we do launch the site, we are anticipating up in our main navigation there will be a drop-down menu specifically saying National Public Gardens Week. That will enable users to go directly to the all events listing, and then they can search however they want to. One of the things that is important to know is that when you do enter an event, it doesn't just automatically go onto the website. Since we do have a public link here, we don't want anybody just anywhere being able to submit an offer and have it appear. We would like it only to be our garden members. And so we're going to make sure that by that, our association staff will review the offers and then approve them so that they can be posted onto the website. We are pretty much online a good part of the day. We do have staff that works remotely on the evenings. So really, whenever gardens are posting events, we'll be able to take a look at them, and certainly they'll be reviewed several times during the workday as well. So we look forward to seeing what y'all have in mind. So that wraps up the initial look of how to enter events, including your My Garden campaign. And we do have time for any questions you might have at this point before we move on to part 3.
And I do see we have 2 questions in the queue, and I've reviewed those, and I believe that I can weave those into part 3 to demonstrate, since some of that content will be touched upon. So if I could indulge you, if you can indulge me, I will address those in part 3. So again, we know that you all work in a team. Maybe you're the one person that does it all, and maybe you have an events or marketing team that takes a more holistic view of setting up events and promotions for your garden or education staff. So, or maybe you're all of those. But in any case, you may not be the person doing all that keying in, but it does help give you the opportunity to shape and weave in your campaign with the overall week's activity. Okay, we'll continue to monitor these questions in the question box, but we will move on to the third part, which is promoting your campaign. Again, I don't think I need to tell you that you already know that you have links when you sign up, and that these are the links that you use to put them into your own communications as you turn to your community and inspire people to read about your story or make a donation or sign up. So make sure you're familiar with those links, and that for those of you who want to go ahead and start getting the word out to the community that this campaign is coming up, this might give you a sign-up period for others to join you in your cause. And you can start small with an inner circle, or you can go broad with the general public. It's really up to you. And you have the link to the sign-up form. When you start going through your mobile cause, the links and your login, you have all of that information. If you ever need a reminder or you need something else sent to you to make sure you have all the links that you need to embed, please contact me. And then we also, because you get a keyword, MYGARDEN, with your unique number assigned to that, they can text to give. It isn't a true text to give. They're not really pledging, but they're just activating the sequence by which they will get sent to the donation form to make their gift. And of course, you can use those. You can use these links on your website, on social media platforms. You can use your website to actually, develop space to talk about this campaign as well, and drive people through the donation portal using your website too. You don't have to put everything into your team page here. You can augment that and help provide that, as long as as long as the MYGARDEN donation portal is going to help you track your overall giving to that campaign. Also, because of the collateral we're going to be putting in the toolbox, some people have asked for templates like signage that you can use to customize and put on site during National Public Gardens Week to inspire visitors to give while they're attending your garden and visiting your garden that day. And also, like any other campaign that has a time-sensitive call to action, keep the messages fresh and frequent. And to that end, there was a question about using your team page to show and use goal progress in real time for an event. And the answer is yes. You can actually use your team page. You can boot it up to show team page progress. And if you give me a minute, I'm going to scroll all the way back to one of our slides. Because you could use your team page. This is your goal and the progress to your goal. Now, and this is what you would probably use during your event to show, and it's real time. I mean, the minute they make a gift and it's linked to your garden, that number is going to change. The one thing that I have not activated on this, and I will also scroll to the end to show you something else. And this is just a bit of education. For the overall MYGARDEN campaign, and for those of you who were at conference when we were doing the Garden Scholars campaign, at the lunches we were using the campaign thermometer feature that we have. That's the overall, it's a live thermometer that scrolled the donors on the right-hand side, showed the goal and showed the amount raised and the number of donors. And people loved it. It was catnip. I mean, people wanted to see their names, and it's great. This isn't a thermometer I can use to give to you as each individual team to show progress. You're going to have to use your team page site because that's your own personal campaign thermometer. However, what I will say is that we will use the campaign thermometer on our website and in our promotion to show the overall campaign goal of your collective goal amounts. And we will set that as the goal. Right now, I think collectively your goals were probably around $180,000 all taken together. And the one feature that it can also do, like I mentioned earlier, is at the luncheons, they were scrolling the names of the donors. And one of the features that our platform can allow for, but because I have a particular, and I can show you here on this slide, there's a tab called Donors that you can activate. And this would show all the donors to your campaign during the week. Now, if I were the only entity raising money for myself, I could make an arbitrary decision to say, I want the donors showing up with the amounts given. Now, you see that on a lot of other crowdfunding platforms, the GoFundMes and all of that. And I made a decision to not do that because I would be presumptuous in thinking that all of you want all of your donors with all of their amounts to be visible. And sometimes there might be a bit of a sensitivity to your particular garden's donors to wanting to have that information publicly listed. So I have made the decision to turn off that feature. I can't individually turn that on for a team or not. It's all or nothing. So I'm trying to err on the side of being conservative. Now, if all 34 gardens and participants said we all want donors listed and with their amounts, then I will turn that on. But until, if I have even one garden saying, I just don't really want to have that, then I have to keep that turned off. So just a little bit of backstory with being able to use and believe me, having that live event and feed and showing actual lifetime activity is very compelling and can be very useful. So Janelle, I hope I answered your question. Yes, you can change your goal during the week on your team page. That's the beauty of this team page is during the week, you can go into your team page and update. You can change your goal. You can shift your message. If there's a certain distance to goal, you can inspire people to take action. There may be more compelling ways for you to communicate that via social media to keep those messages fresher. But if you want to just keep the links and keep sending people to the donation portal, then you can be nimble in many ways. And the team page is one of them, but it shouldn't necessarily be the only one that you use. So going back to our promotional week, just as a recap too, as people are using the desktop donation page once they come and they're at the page, as a reminder, they do have that option as a pull-down menu to indicate your garden. And this is the reassurance moment where a donor is like all of a sudden navigating to a donation page. What is this? What does this look like? This doesn't look like the garden I know. This is for them to say, I am making sure that my gift is going to go to my garden, and this is the garden I'm selecting. So it's a fail-safe in case they find their way to a donation page without your keyword. It's a way for me to make sure that this gift connects back to your garden. Now I have to manually add that, so that's why I'm keeping track on the dashboard in the back end to make sure as I see people sign up that I'm adding your garden here. So when we get into the checklist mode right before we go live, make sure you go on to click on the donation page and pull down this menu and make sure your garden's represented. And if it's not, please email me and let me know that. So some of your other answers, some of your other questions can be answered in this what to expect and do. Richard had already mentioned a bit of national and regional promotion from the association end. Richard, did you want to add anything to that?
We're going to do some of the things that we did last year on social media, both on, well, we have a number of people on Facebook and then also on Twitter and Instagram. And I think we have, between all of the gardens that were participating last year, 4.7 million people on Facebook and just over 2 million each on Twitter and Instagram. So I think we have a pretty good reach with that. What we are going to do is create some videos of just some of the participating gardens that are in certain areas so that we will then spend a little bit of money spending that directly on targeted campaigns in regional and national campaigns on Facebook and Twitter as much as we can to try to just get the word out. And then of course there are the Go Green landmarks that I did mention earlier. I think we can take a quick look at some of those. Ta-da. We have bridges, we have city halls, botanical gardens, skyscrapers, all sorts of things are across the country are going to be going green for National Public Gardens Week, and we're really excited about that. And again, we think that this will give some of the visuals that might be a good way for your local media to show, maybe on like the outro to the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news, and 4 and 5 and 6 and whatever other clocks there are for local news these days. But we're still in communication with a lot of other landmarks, and we really hope to have a critical mass that'll be a fairly impressive list when we do get to National Public Gardens Week.
So please do leverage your local community if we haven't already made contact, and get in touch with Richard with any contact information or ideas that you may have towards that. So a little bit about what happens when we go live and gifts are happening and all this. There's all this activity, and the question really is, what do you do? What do we do? What happens? What are donors expecting? And what really goes down. So first of all, your team captain, they're set up to get notifications every time someone either signs up to fundraise for you or to make a gift. Now, you're getting this as a, by the way, someone just did this. So you can choose to take action or not. You don't have to take any action because it is a self-guided process. If people are making a gift to you, what happens is there's an association-generated receipt embedded in this in the MobileCause series of actions to be set up. That serves as a tax receipt for them. The actual copy of that email was screenshot and put on webinar 1, so you can see that. When they make a gift, the donation form is set up to have the donor cover a 2.5% processing fee as part of their donation. And if they uncheck that box, they opt out. So we have found this to be it hasn't been a very obnoxious kind of a way to ask for that, because ultimately they would be covering your garden's cost to process that. Because in answer to another question that has been posted, the garden's cost of actually participating in this campaign to us is that we would expect that from the proceeds that are generated, and first of all, the donor gets 100% of their gift donated. 100% is deductible. The gift legally is made to the association because it's coming through our portal. We're accepting the gift, and we're acting like in a donor advised fund in which the gift is actually going to you, and you are the recipient, and they are essentially your donor. And we have no plans to make further contact with the people that are making gifts to your garden. That being said, in addition to the 2.5% processing, what we ask is that 10% of the proceeds that you raise be held for the association's cost to help set this up for you, administer it, and do all the back end processing of all of that. So we've put in a lot of time and energy on that. And what we'll do is we'll reconcile all of that up front and send you those proceeds. So that's kind of in that, we covered a lot of this in webinars 1 and 2, so that we were completely transparent with what we were asking from the gardens. And in return, we're giving you this platform at no risk for you to experiment with the mobile fundraising and gauge success on that and your interest in adding this in your toolbox if you don't already have this technology. So what we do is the association staff will track and monitor portal activity that week. If there's any troubleshooting to be done, we do that. I work with MobileCause on anything on the back end that seems kind of wonky. If for some reason there's a glitch and gifts don't get, they get caught in a queue and they don't get actually processed, there is a way we can go back and ensure that happens. We get closure on all of the gifts, and we follow them through the portal to make sure that they are completed. And what happens at the end is we're able to generate a CSV file to you that includes all of the data that they have keyed into their fields, and we make a lot of that mandatory, so that you are capturing names and addresses and mobile phone numbers and emails, which is just part of, we we want to make sure that if there are new donors to you, that you have enough information you can upload into your system in the import-export, whether manual or you're just linking fields and creating an upload file. So you have that opportunity in live time to see gifts coming, and so we talked a little bit in earlier webinars about your choice as a garden. If you wish, if you have gifts coming in, say at a certain dollar level that you want immediate, you want to create immediate touch point with them, you set up that protocol for you. We just make sure you see in live time the gift activity, but then it's your call if you want to take action with them immediately to thank them or do some other touch point with them. They will get receipted, they get thanked, they can see the progress, overall campaign progress, and then we will reconcile and send all of these, all this information to you by the end of the month in May, so you can then take further action with your records and your stewardship. Some of you were asking about the timeline, and so this is really the opportunity to kind of mark these dates down and plot the next course of action. Right now is still team page building, still thinking about whether or not you may want to recruit other people to help fundraise on your behalf. Beginning next week, the registration begins, so here's where you kind of craft the week's activity with other people at your garden, or try to dovetail activities if you would. Again, we go through that process in early May, where we're just cleaning things up, making sure everything's looking good. I will say if you are changing your goal during the campaign, to let me know so that I can change the overall target for all campaigns, because that number for the overall campaign goal for all gardens collectively does not automatically populate, I believe. So I just need to keep track of anything that shifts during that week. The official go live time is based on Eastern time, 12:01 Monday through Sunday midnight. You can pre-promote this, but you really can't promote the call to action until it goes live Monday. Going live to the public on Monday. And again, our expected reconciliation time and our expected final check disbursement. So that covers a lot of activity for you all, and we'll take the last 5 minutes and take any other questions that you have. If I have not answered some of your questions completely, please let me know. Okay. Richard, is there anything else you'd like to add while we're waiting on questions?
No, I think we've pretty much covered a lot. If anybody does have any questions about some of the resources that'll be available, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Corey, anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think it's just looking really exciting. The pages are coming along wonderfully. You know, I see these, I've worked on hundreds of campaigns at this point, and it's just really wonderful to see these coming along and how creative everyone is being. I would encourage everybody to look at the peer-to-peer aspect of it, having those individual fundraisers. It's a great way to really take advantage of your most passionate members' networks, their social networks. Reaching people who you normally can't. So we actually have Mobile Cause itself is actually putting on a webinar about recruiting and keeping fundraisers engaged. So Joan, if you think that would be appropriate for people to check out, obviously it wouldn't be specific to the Gardens Week, but I can always send along that information if you think that might be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been people that have just had a lot of general interest in the how-tos, regardless. of how things work and how things get set up. So I have a question. So we cannot really promote this with links on this campaign before we go live Monday, May 13th. I would caution not to, just because of equity. We want all gardens to sort of launch, and we want the campaign to launch at the same time. You can promote the links to sign up and join the cause as a volunteer fundraiser, and I would recommend that you send those links out. But I would not promote the links to the donation form until we go live on May 13th. You can promote the campaign and the coming of the campaign and talking up the campaign, but the campaign has a start and it has a stop. So we're trying to honor that in the same time frame of National Public Gardens Week. Okay. So everyone knows everything. That's great. Okay. So I'm happy to be here and answer any calls offline. I have been asked quite a bit. Also happy to help with any team page setup or advice, or anything wonky that you see. I know that we, don't be afraid to ask what you can and can't do. You don't know until you ask. And if you have any things you can't overcome, please let us know, and we'll work on that. So thank you very much. We're going to be doing a presentation to our board of directors in April at the association on all of this. They were really encouraged to be able to offer this to gardens throughout the country as part of one of our new initiatives, and we'd love to hear your feedback also. So if we feel like we may disseminate something right before we go live to all of you, and we'll keep you all apprised of how everyone else is doing. But I want to thank you all for taking a lot of time and energy on your part to explore this and to build your team page. And we wish you all luck, and we're here to help. So thank you, Corey and Richard, and on behalf of the association, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.